11. I'm going to give you some verbal feedback today about your Jasper Jones essays, and in particular, the way that we can take our paragraphs to a more analytical place. So I'm going to start off just by using this kind of continuum. We read a text and we see what the main ideas are. Now, as Year 11s, you've been doing this for a really long time and you're actually awesome at being able to tell me what a text is about and then also what you think the main ideas are, so the themes or the bigger picture of a text. What I've found is that you are struggling to tell me how you got to the main idea. How did you know that Jasper Jones was about certain themes? How did you know that Ruth is meant to be this kind of crazy, terrible mother? How did you know that we are meant to feel sorry for someone like Jasper Jones? What did Craig Silvey do, or what do we analyse as readers to get us to this part over here? And that's where we need to go with our writing, so that we are really showing our analytical brain and how our brain is working. So I've kind of constructed this little continuum, and within these 5 parts is something that I would like you to think about when you're writing your essays, and it relates to these 5 parts here. Whenever you are writing about a text, you need to have these 5 things in your essay, preferably in every paragraph. So whatever you are writing about, whatever your topic sentence is or your topic of your paragraph, you need to then show me these steps. Show me your analytical brain and how you're making sense of this main idea. So in the feedback that I gave you for your essays, I may have said something like, you discuss the idea well, but you don't give me specific evidence, or you don't tell me where and when this is happening. There are no devices being discussed. Who is the audience and how do we react? And then finally, what is this big purpose? What's the bigger picture? As we call it in the literature syllabus, the discourse. What conversation is this text having with you as a reader? Either intentionally, what Craig Silvey intended to say, or perhaps what was unintentional, what he didn't mean to communicate, but we still can read into it. So let's have a look at this and this. On the continuum, number 1 is that you've got to tell me where you know that this main idea is happening. Give me specific examples from the plot. So, for example, one of the main ideas that many of you wrote about in your essay was that Charlie's mum in Jasper Jones is a terrible mother, and she's crazy and she's nasty and she's mean. Great, it's the main idea, but where did you see it? Specifically, what event happened in the plot? Maybe more than one event, okay? Once you've given me your evidence, tell me the context of it. Where is that happening? Well, for this particular novel, it was the 1960s. So is she a terrible mother because in the 1960s there was this belief that mothers should be quiet and submissive and nurturing and give up everything for their children? An A-grade student would probably compare the context from then and now. How do we respond to this as readers in 2020? This one's a big one, and these are our devices. Craig Silvey is using language, structure, narrative, and generic conventions to get us to respond to these events in his novel. So is it the way he uses language, descriptive language? Is it the way he structures certain parts of the plot? Is it the use of characterization or setting as narrative devices? Or is it the genre of Gothic or Bildungsroman that actually lead us to this idea that she's a terrible mother and, Charlie is losing his innocence through having to deal with a woman like her in his life? You need to also then tell me about how these things here position us as an audience. So if we go back to a narrative device, her characterization leads us as the audience to dislike her because of what she does, her actions, her dialogue, the way that she treats Wesley and Charlie. We really react badly to her. Also because of the context that we've all grown up thinking that mothers shouldn't act in that way. Finally, it leads us to our purpose. What's the bigger picture then that is being said about women or about mothers? Perhaps intentionally, Craig Silvey wants us to believe that Ruth has really let Charlie down and has let Wesley down. And, Charlie and Wesley are better off if Ruth just leaves. And, Ruth is really not able to deal with her emotions. She can't ever actually realize that her life is now in Corrigan, in this small town, and she doesn't have the freedoms and the wealth that she used to have. She's never been able to kind of make peace with that. Or, unintentionally, is there some kind of discourse within this novel that is saying that women are just crazy? And Ruth is a terrible mother because she wasn't able to deal with giving up her past and devote herself to her child and her husband. I'm sure that Craig Silvey, if he ever watches this video, he can tell us, I'm sure he would never think that about women, but that's something that we can analyse for this main idea. So when you're writing your paragraphs, you need to kind of try and think about these things along your continuum. Okay? How did I get from reading Jasper Jones to women are crazy? How did I get there? Use these little continuums when you're writing to ensure that you're hitting these things, because that's what I look for when I mark. I look for the evidence that you're discussing when, that you're giving me evidence of devices and how they influence us, and then what the bigger picture is. This is the big analysis. This is the cool stuff. I really like that stuff. Hopefully this has given you some feedback on how to use this in your upcoming essays, and we will talk more about this in class, and you can put any comments below, or you can write to me on Connect.